Alright guys, we're going to get the first start going on my Firebird for the first time in pretty much this year. Basically the car's been sitting since 2016 when I built the trans for it, tried to get it back through inspection, never managed to get it through. Bought my Corvette and kind of gave up on the car. It sat and sat, but I felt some motivation to get this car running again. I'm going to build the air filter for it. We might have some new wheels for it, but for now we're just going to get this cold start going. The battery's going to need a charge because it's been sitting, but it was a new battery when I put it in there 2 years ago, so we'll see what happens. And yeah, we'll go from there. The battery on the Firebird charges. We're going to go ahead and wash the Corvette up. So I know you're not supposed to use a wash mitt or anything on these foam cannon stuff. Like, it's supposed to be totally touchless, but personally I don't really trust it. So I always wipe it down with the wash mitt anyway, just to really scrub it and agitate any dirt that's on here. It's black paint, it'll show every flaw, and if there was something up with the foam cannon or it didn't get the dirt out properly or whatever, I would definitely know, and I would hate my life after that. So it's still drying off a little bit, but it came out pretty good. I mean, the foam cannon is nice on a day like today where it's like 40 degrees and really windy, but it uses a ton of soap. Like, you fill it up to that line. I did one car, and I didn't do one car that well, and I used all that soap. Like, normal bucket wash, I can get, out of 2 or 3 ounces of soap, I can get 2 or 3 cars done. Where this takes, probably 4 or 5, and I get 1 car. Seems like a waste. And realistically, the foam isn't that great, and especially since I don't trust it, I end up scrubbing it anyway. I was sort of just throwing the soap away, but it beats putting your hand in the bucket. But before I start it up, just because this thing is loud, I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. Seems like a good time. So I did a couple of videos about this car like 5 or 6 years ago, I think. Back when I first got it. And basically it's a 92 Firebird base model that I bought at like 16. I sold my Focus and I bought this $800 3rd gen ship box and spent like $2,000, got it painted. And then, I was pretty happy with the 305 at a young age, and I got kind of bored. It had exhaust on it, so it was loud, but it had no bite. And, it's just a standard base. But I got the L31, which is the Vortec 350. Had the Vortec heads that everybody seems to love, and I did the LT4 hot cam that the internet tells you is the best cam ever, when it's really not. I did the stealth ram intake, so it went from a throttle body injected car. We repinned the wiring harness and made it a tune port injected car, and then used the stealth ram in place of the TPI intake. It's got 4th gen seats and a mega shifter because at like 16 that was cool. Normal stuff. It's got a Trans Am mat pocket just because it actually closes. But yeah, it was a pretty standard car, and but it was still a 305. It ate a trans, and I went with a trans from Mad Dog out of North Carolina, and it was junk. It blew up in like 3 years after that. So then I bought a Monster in a Box kit, which people will say they're okay if you do it yourself, just don't get it directly from them. So I did that, a Monster 2800 stall, and I never drove it after that. Like, this car always had a ton of top end but no bottom end, so I really just wanted to get it up there as fast as possible. Just the way these heads are, they're Vortec heads, but they're Engine Quest Vortec heads, and I want to say they're like 180cc as opposed to like 170. And the stealth ram makes power from like $3,000 up, and the cam really makes power from like 2,800 up. So right around like 3,000 is when this thing really starts to kick, and it's got a 390 year to try to make up for that. But in between shifts, it was always a dog. The converter that was in there had a ton of slip, so hopefully the 2800 will help a little bit. I never got a great time out of this thing between trans issues and the air filter thing, and yeah, but hopefully this season we can get a good time out of it. Just looking to break 12s, nothing too crazy. Should be doable. But, yeah, let's get this thing out and get it washed up. But I'm assuming it's because the gas is old, like really, really old. But, yeah, it's out. Get it washed up. I don't want to play with the tune at all until I know it's, not a fueling related problem or anything like that. But, yeah, I'm just going to wash this thing up. It's good to see it out again. See that like, Haggard Racing green that I had. This thing cleaned up. Even when you spray it down, you just see the dirt coming off in the water and everything. The water's brown. It's pretty gross, but it's been years since I washed it. I want to get kind of precise and really try this foam cannon out. I have like the Chemical Guys snow foam honeydew stuff that I think came with the foam cannon. So I measured out 2 ounces in a measuring cup, just to make sure I'm putting enough in. I'm going to add a splash just to make sure, but it's definitely a lot less than I thought 2 ounces was. So maybe I've been using too much this whole time. I don't know. Just going to add a splash just to make up for the leftovers in the bottle, and we're going to see what happens. This car's all scratched to shit anyway, so the foam cannon doesn't work like it's supposed to. So let's see how it looks with the precise measurements. Oh, it's too windy. It's pretty good. It's not very sticky. Let's turn it up a bit. There, it's even thinner. Alright, so Firebird's dry. Corvette is drying again. I tried my best to keep the water off of it, but it's windy as hell out here. Yeah, so now that it's clean, you can see the reflection, but you can see the color. It's definitely green. It's got really good depth. It's reflective, but it looks black. Like that thing is not in the sun. It's black. Which is, I think, why I always thought it was awesome. But it needs some work, and that's what we're here to do. This isn't a detailing channel as much as I would like it to be. I'm not that good. What are the plans for this car? Well, an interior detail. Don't know if I'll film that. You can see this dash is dusty. There's cobwebs growing over here. Actually, that was a spider web. There's spiders in there still. Actually, I'm going to replace this dash. I have another one. I don't mind this one so much, but somebody had it bolted in, or didn't have it bolted in the parts car I got it out of, and messed it up. I need to fix my columns, so these zip ties need to go. Basically, the lower cover broke and some other stuff like that. The door panels are gonna go. You can see they're stained down there, and you can see on this one they're pretty stained as well. That's from lots of sweet tea and stuff like that. But there's, in this one especially, there's holes that you can see, and over there you can't see them because they're in the door jamb, but it's held on with self tappers. Like, I have another set of the correct natural tan door panels and armrests. These armrests aren't too bad, but I'm going to swap them both in. I'm going to put the Firebird mat pocket back on and maybe attach it with some Velcro or something just so it doesn't flop around, which is why I got rid of it in the first place. The headliner's good. It's one of the few third gens with a good headliner. I need to swap my 28-pound injectors back in and, you know, set the injector offsets and the ECM for it and some stuff like that. And the big thing is the ECM and the wideband. So I don't know where I'm going to mount my wideband gauge yet, but there is going to be a wideband gauge in here. Not really sure where. I might just put it under the dash down here or something like that, just so it's out of the way, because I like the factory look, and at the moment I'm not in a position to build a custom dash for this thing, or a custom cluster at least. But I have a dynamic EFI EBL flash P4 for this car, basically because I'm tired of swapping chips and I want wideband input to the ECM. I can do simulated wideband, with where it takes the 5 volts and converts it to 1 so the ECM can recognize it, but I don't like that. This has a 3-wire O2 sensor already out of an LT1 car that, sort of helps with closed loop idle or open loop idle. I forget. I think it's open loop idle. And that's definitely helpful, but the wideband would be much better. The EBL has wideband learn, so I can, as much as I'm going to monitor the numbers, I don't really trust the self-tuning thing. I do like that idea. I like that it can do some of the calculations itself. I can drive it. The ECM can take the wideband data and process it and make adjustments accordingly. So I definitely want to do that. I have all the chip burning stuff, so I could really keep doing that if I really wanted to, but the EBL is more capable. This spins to 6,500 anyway, and the fuel table stops in the 7730 ECMs at 5,800. So there's a good percentage of fueling there that could be managed better, and it's not. I'll have to do the whole timing thing, because I remember one issue I had with this when I was driving it, it would backfire out of the throttle body with this new converter as a Monster 2800 stall. And I don't know if it changed the load values at cruise, like if it's cruising at a different load and then it doesn't have the ignition timing to overcome the converter. I don't know, but it would backfire, or it would pop out of the intake. It's technically not a backfire, but it would pop out of the intake pretty constantly, and it was impossible to drive. But once you got through that point, it was fine. So that's what made me think it was something to do with the converter, or this distributor's going bad. I'm not really sure. It's like the 5th distributor I've put in this car. And then I need, going back to door panels, these top rails, just like all of them are warped. They're ripped off the door panel. They look like shit. I have a clean set off of a low mileage formula that are probably going to go in here, but that's for a later date. And I'm also going to replace that lock slider, the little plug that goes behind the door handle, and that open square right there with the Torx bit in it. Takes a little Firebird cover. Got a bunch from Parts Cars. This one needs that plug too. I think I have them. So that is probably a project for another day, but today we're going to get into something interesting, hopefully. All right, so hopefully you can hear me okay, but I got the car running. I just kind of held the idle till it got warm and got back into closed loop, and now it's fine. Smoking a little bit, I'm sure there's tons of unburned fuel in the exhaust, plus the tune isn't great, but I think we're going to end the video here. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on some other stuff and make some more content for the future. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more content. I'm definitely going to do a total 180 in the next few months to a year, hopefully. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe.